can ride anywhere we need to go. We can ride all night up to the morning, as long as we make the show. We can be the best or we can be the worst. We can be the best thing you ever heard. With the motor singing and the grandstands ringing, it's hard to put it all in words. But this is how we ride, this is how we do. Riding mud, sliding up higher in the groove. Don't give a damn about the cash we're spending. With the time we got, we choose to play it on the go, to stay out on the run. We all high, wild, and handsome. Ain't telling you what's right or wrong or what to choose. Hey, but this is how we do. This is how we do. Out on the dirt ovals we play, life in the bright lights with no shades. Letting her go, letting her rip, letting her fly, tossing her in sideways, living the life, letting her ride, outside winning to die. Cross her up on the cushion, crossing the line, cause some drama and some bullshit they didn't like. And if they don't like the move, then we're ready to fly. But this is how we ride, this is how we do. Riding mud, sliding up higher in the groove. Don't give a damn about the cash we're spending. With the time we got, we choose to play it on the go, to stay out on the run. We all high, wild, and handsome. Ain't telling you what's right or wrong or what to choose. Hey, but this is how we do. This is how we do. This is how we roll, this is how we do. It's not for everybody but the chosen few. And we pray, cause we know that they might not ever come back. But this is how we ride, this is how we do. Riding mud, sliding up higher in the groove. Don't give a damn about the cash we're spending. With the time we got, we choose to play it on the go, to stay out on the run. We all high, wild, and handsome. Ain't telling you what's right or wrong or what to choose. Hey, but this is how we do. This is how we do. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are here today on the show. Oh, the music off. That means we should turn the lights off as well. Lights out, lights out. We'll take the lights out. But anyways, we have returned here in the area, in the studio. The Chaz sign in the background, Impact, of course, putting that together. We have the graphics, we have the overlay, and we have our first guest of a busy week. He doesn't know it, but he's kicking off a pretty busy week here on the Chaz. Thanksgiving week, of course. A lot of people going out with family and friends, so there'll be a lot of people gathered around the tables and stuff, probably watching some of these. We're going to have a lot of interviews coming this week. We got Logan Schuchart today. We're texting back with Rico. Not sure, of course. He just reiterated, "I'm against the bullshit." Oh, we know what that means. But we're in discussion. We're trying to make the deal, trying to get some toilet paper out and flush it down the toilet. We'll see. Hopefully a new era here with the Chaz after we just did our 2 months of farming. Yes, running the John Deere. It's very interesting, that lifestyle. Definitely appreciate the people who gave that opportunity. But now we're back here. We're hitting it hard every single day. Maybe even having 2 interviews come Friday. One confirmed. We are going to have Cody Summer from the Gateway Dirt Nationals going to be on tomorrow. During Thanksgiving, we're still trying to figure out the time frame because football, family, all that, we don't want to disrupt it. But Caleb Montgomery, of course, he's trying to be the new Tanner Holmes. We're gonna post him up. He's gonna be coming on to the show, and then we got several others lined up. We're trying to coerce Donny Schatz into coming on. We may not be able to talk about his next year plans if he does come on the show. Even though y'all in the chat, I know y'all are gonna be fine. But we'll see what happens there with Donnie as well. And some others, we have exchanged some messages with Tony Stewart, but ERI is going to be a big deal. He's planning to be there. I'm planning to be there. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening at PRI just a few weeks away. I don't know if I'm going to be at Gateway particularly, but we will see. There's plenty of time and plenty of opportunities along the way. But anyways, we'll get into the show. Thanks for everybody tuning into the chat. Yes, we do have the Puppets hat on. It looked good with the Impact shirt we had on today, and it always looks good with Logan Schuchart. Logan, you are on the line. What are you doing today? I'm assuming you're running somewhere, correct? That's what's happening?
I'm not running today. I'm driving this nice 1500 Silverado from Mark Martin Motors from South Carolina to Pennsylvania is what I'm doing today.
Now, Mark Martin Motors, I think I saw a post about that. I was going around trying to get some pictures and some stuff to build all the graphics. What is it? There's a Mark Martin, obviously the NASCAR version, but what is this Mark Martin you're talking about? It has to be something else, correct?
Not the same guy. They get asked that all the time. We get asked that all the time. It's not the same Mark Martin that races NASCAR, no. But they're the number one truck dealer in Pennsylvania, used truck dealer. They have super nice stuff. They're in Lancaster, so if you're around, or we had David Gravel give them a call not long ago. So they're selling trucks out of state, but they got really nice stuff. So check them out.
Okay, so you're driving this Mark Martin deal down the street. Or down the highway. What was your activities today? What was it? Was you running another marathon? Because there's I guess you ran one. It was 26 miles here recently. That's kind of insane.
Yeah, I did that on Sunday, but no, we basically got back from Philadelphia where the marathon was. Drove down to South Carolina. My younger brother he's been away at boot camp. Paris Island, South Carolina, training to be a Marine, and he just graduated today. So we got to go down and watch him graduate, which was really cool.
Interesting, yeah. That's definitely different. It seems like your off season is a little bit different than most people. The hunting, I was trying to find the hunting, the marathons. I was trying to find that bear photo. Was that bear photo taken down? Is that what happened with that?
I don't know. Is it not on there? It should be on Instagram and Facebook.
I couldn't find it. I don't know. Yeah, maybe the Facebook liberals got it.
They might have. I don't know. Summer's gonna check. She's on detective work over here.
Oh my! But anyways, you do some hunting. I'm assuming the bear hunt and the deer hunt was separate, or did you do one or the other? I saw your dad took down a really big buck. I believe that trip is in Ohio. How are these hunting trips actually working out for you?
Yeah, so the one in Ohio, that was with my dad, my father-in-law, brother-in-law, one of my best friends. But we go to Ohio every year, right around Atomic, so it's really close to Chillicothe. It's usually where I tell people because we all relate everything to racetrack. So that's where we go. We go out there with Sunfish Valley whitetails. It's fair chase guided hunt. It's cool with people. But the week before that, I was with Doug and Kevin from C&D Rigging. They invited me on a hunt with them. That was actually on the coast of North Carolina. It's Oak City. It was a guided hunt, and I've never been bear hunting before. I've always hunted out of a tree stand and been a whitetail hunter. So that was a completely new experience, but pretty wild adrenaline rush. This bear was basically running straight at me at 15 yards, and I shot it at, I'd say, 5 to 7 yards. It's not far at all, so it was a really pretty wild experience.
So I guess on the bear hunt, you're actually on foot walking around or tracking. How does that even work? I guess you kind of know now. You didn't before.
I didn't know. I knew that they used dogs, and I didn't totally understand that. Like I said, I've always hunted out of a tree stand, and I kind of thought using dogs was kind of I don't want to say unfair, but I wasn't sure of it. I've never done it, so it's completely new at it. But now that I've experienced it, I understand why. Because towards the coast like that, it's super thick. You can barely walk through this, the timber of the forest. So they use, if you were to hunt out of a tree stand like we do in Pennsylvania, you'd probably never see anything. And actually, in North Carolina, they have one of the highest populations for black bear, which I didn't know either. I wouldn't have guessed that. And they seem to be pretty big. So their hunting season, they actually use these dogs and get the bear to move. And so what you do is you sit in a truck, you see these dogs on a GPS, and basically when you think that they're on something, you run or you drive to a certain spot, run, as quick as you can in the woods to a certain area that you think that this animal or these dogs might come to, and try and cut it off in its path. And that's what we did. And it happens 2 or 3 times in my experience, where you go to a spot and the animal will turn and you still don't really know what it's chasing. And so we get back, run to another spot and think that it's going to come here, which is what your guys are doing. And then when it gets close, you kind of get in position to maybe make a shot or whatever. And it just happened to be that when I was there, this thing was about 15 yards and crossed right in front of me, and I ended up shooting it at about 5 yards. So it's pretty wild experience.
And so, what kind of are you? You're not using bow or anything. I saw some of y'all use bow in the deer hunting. What kind of caliber or weapon are you using to take down a bear? It looked like a big bear.
Yeah, so I use the same gun I used to go deer hunting, which is a 220 slug gun. Just a 20 gauge slug that's rifled, and it packs a pretty big punch. So it usually works really well with deer, and it works well with a bear also.
Yeah, well, I guess those animals, they kind of move around a different way than a deer does. So, um, I'm assuming they let you know that that's like a better hit what you're aiming at that point, because it's a bear, it's not a deer. It's trying to get away, it's trying to get to you.
Yeah, so I mean, it wasn't necessarily trying to get to me. I mean, when it was running at me, I think is what made it turn when it did see me. But that's why they have the guides are behind you, so you're following them until it's time to get in position. And then I wasn't paying attention to them. I got this 500-pound black bear running at me, but I knew that they were right behind me. And so, actually, I think it's like protocol. When I shot, it basically killed it right away. But the guide shot it again right after he jumped in front of me and then shot again. And I asked, I was like, why, what made you do that? And he said, I made a good shot. And he said, that's protocol. We always do that because an injured bear can be dangerous. So they do that just to make sure, and that the bear doesn't injure, the dog or one of the other people that are nearby.
Right. Yeah, and I saw you did have some people critical in the comment. Obviously, it looked like you were responding, saying, and then, I mean, I halfway get it. I mean, I'm the type of guy that mows around ant piles, for crying out loud. So, I mean, I get it. I get the value of all life. But obviously, there is a hunter aspect to everybody. It's a natural deal. I kind of think, the one respect to the hunter lifestyle is it's way more humane than going to the grocery store and just getting some steaks that went through some slaughterhouse. And I don't know if anybody wants to look into what happens there, but it's definitely a lot more inhumane than a gunshot. So to harvest your own food is respectable in that sense as well. Obviously, we do have people who are just trophy hunters and don't care like that, and we see that exploitation as well, as far as people promoting the negativities of the extreme. They don't really seem to think with the common sense of what's happening there with the regular examples. What happened with this bear after it was all said and done? I thought I saw you say that it went to feed families or something like that.
Yeah, and I kept a decent amount for myself, and that's what got me going on this hunt originally with Doug from C&D Rigging. I went to a party at his house where he had bear roast, and I tried it for the first time, and I really liked it. And we got to talking, and he said he was going on a hunt the following year hunting bear, and asked if I wanted to go. And that's that's what got me on this trip about a year ago, basically. So, and Kevin and Doug invited me along. So, yeah, I've never ate bear before that, and I've always been the type, the way my family taught me, my dad taught me as a hunter, you know, you never shoot anything that you don't eat, and that's just kind of what I believe in. So I would never shoot that animal unless I was gonna eat it, and people around me that I knew were gonna eat it. So I don't believe in that. I love animals, and actually, if you saw my post of this past week, we actually, one of my best friends had a puppy that kind of met him in the middle of 500 acres of woods, and so we brought him home, and now he has a new home with my sister Tori ended up taking him. So we love animals, and that's the way I was taught. You don't, you know, I took some of the meat, some of the people, the guides, they wanted some because, as you know, it's a 500-pound bear. There's lots of meat there. So, and then there was some families in the area. It's not, you know, I don't want to get it incorrect, but there's sort of a poor area that we were in. So there were some families there that, you know, were kind of more poor that would like some of the meat, and some of it was given to them for like bear burgers and stuff like that. So that was pretty neat.
Well, and you know, when I went through my weight loss period, I went from like 450 pounds to 180, and I you know, when you go to work out and stuff, I'm curious actually with you, when you go to work out, you know, obviously I put some pounds back in this process. You don't go work out and all that and then just eat whatever and throw your workout away, technically. And I got to studying into the foods and everything like that, and the phrase "you are what you eat" is extremely true. And one of the funniest things about that is honestly bears. There's bears that I forget which part of the country. I think in Oregon. Their diet is very berry based, and so their actual fat when you go to skin the animal is like a purple dye, like it's actually absorbed into the body. And when you talk about like meats, bear meats, deer meats, or things like that, I would assume that it's way more beneficial for our bodies to consume that animal that's kind of lived or been out in the wild versus the typical meats that everybody's eating every day.
Well, yeah, like you already said, I it's part of why I like being a hunter. When you take an animal like that, you know exactly where it's coming from. You know, I mean, it's not like buying it in the grocery store. You know exactly where that came from. There's some pride in being able to, you know, feed yourself and your family, and I enjoy that about it. You know, there's a camaraderie part of it when I go on trips with my family, but knowing exactly where it came from, and it's, you know, as far as a white-tailed deer, it's one of the healthiest meats that you can eat, right behind an elk, which I have never gone hunting for, but I would love to. Just hard to do, you know, way out west than that. But white-tailed deer is some of the leanest and healthiest meat you can eat.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the elk, I don't know if there's a prettier rack. I think a lot of people have said caribou, but I was lucky enough. I went to the West Coast this year and got face to face kind of with a bull elk, probably 8 or 10 feet, and they're massive. I mean, yeah, that would probably be the one super food and super hunt to do. I guess that's up there as far as what other hunts you would envision wanting to do in the future.
Oh yeah, I'd love to do it. I might have to win Knoxville or something first to pay for a hunt, but yeah, it'd be pretty neat to go do it.
You know, the Bordens, obviously they're from Oregon. Devin Borden over there in PA now. They have some land that they do elk hunts. That could be a potential in there as well. They have a lot of land out there, and they've invited me, but I believe it's November is the season. The season's weird for elk too. It's not the same as whitetail. It's very short. I guess because they're so sought after, you know.
Well, you could probably gun hunt in November. I'm not sure, but bow season, like their mating season, is in September.
Okay.
That's the hot time to go hunting. Like a whitetail is in the beginning of November.
Well, and you are full blown into the seasons at that point. I was curious what you know, for being a marathon runner yourself, back to food. This is an interesting topic. What is a typical Logan Schuchart diet? We see you eating the meats and stuff, but is there certain things you do or do not eat? Like I know Kyle Larson's like a vegan or whatever. What are you?
I'm definitely not a vegan, but I like a little bit of everything. Yeah, I try not to eat junk, but that doesn't work when you live on the road. Like we're traveling today and stopping at truck stops and that. But we try now that Summer and I are getting ready to move into our house. We'll try and cook some home cooked meals. But I definitely eat my meat, but try to get my. I love home cooked or cooked veggies. I love cooked carrots and broccoli and all that stuff. So.
But on the road, it's like
Yeah,
what,
it's like all that
Subway,
stuff.
or are you buying like beef jerky, trying to cut the carbs?
I will. I honestly don't pay as much attention to it. If I was trying to like for my looks, maybe I should. But I kind of just try to work out hard. And that doesn't. If you're trying to like look a certain way, your diet's like 90% of it. But I'm more just work out hard so I can kind of eat what I want at times.
Speaking of the
But
running,
I like my chocolate chip cookies too. So I'm not super good that way.
well, you probably just run an extra mile, I guess, when you indulge in the cookies. Speaking of that, you are kind of known. It is creepy, I guess, for some, but you are kind of known to be this guy that, when the Outlaws are in town, Logan Schuchart's running around it. That's happening all the time. It's almost like a tradition. I feel like people expect it at a racetrack. They know that you'll be there somewhere. Especially local fans who may live near the racetrack. They see it. Uh, have you had any interesting encounters while you're running around these towns? Like whether that's people or dogs or wildlife. What's the craziest thing that you encountered while you're around all these towns? There's got to be something.
I don't know. I try to map it out so I don't have anything crazy that's happening. I haven't had anything too crazy. I did see a run around in Knoxville this year. Now that you speak of it, they're in a little. What do I say? Knoxville this year. I've had dogs come after me. None of them have really got me too bad, or just a quick scare.
What do you mean? Hold on. What do you
got
mean
away.
got you too bad? So you have been nipped by dogs while running?
I've had them like snap at me, but not like actually try to bite me. So more of like a scare type of thing. But yeah, when German shepherds and stuff come to the fence, that's a little uneasy. But I've never actually gotten bit. I've had friends that have gotten bit. Actually, that my buddy that I ran with that I posted about, he got bit like last month. He got pretty tore up, but he was fine. But no, nothing with people too bad. I try to map it out so when we're in some not so good areas that I'm not going down somewhere I shouldn't be.
Right. What do you mean by shouldn't be? I believe this last marathon was City of Brotherly Love, right? That was Philadelphia. That's a pretty rough area. Have you been in any rough areas accidentally before?
Well, when I say that, it's mainly with it's some areas where I could get bit by a dog or not out by myself or whatever. But yeah, I just try to map it out so it's in more of a public area.
Right. I hear what you're saying. I was just curious. I didn't know if there had something been happening. I mean, because it can happen anywhere, encountering any kind of dog or wildlife or something just walking around, and you seem to have put on a bunch of miles. So I was just curious on that subject. I know we ain't talked about racing too much. Here before we went live, I was talking to Rico, and you were saying, is he doing, Australia and high limit and all that? Obviously, Australia's kicking off. They got that Adelaide race that just happened. What's your opinion of Australia and the racing over there that's kicking off? Obviously, have you been over there? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I went for 3 years with John Weatherall in Queensland. Raced at Archer Field. We're supposed to race at Toowoomba a little bit. They got rained out every time. Raced at the old Sydney Speedway and actually won one of the last races there, the Scott Darley Challenge. So it's one of the bigger races that an American was allowed to run over there, other than obviously like the Classic. So that was pretty neat. I enjoyed going over there. John Weatherall's a great guy. The Strallos helped me when I was over there, and they're super nice people. And Tyler's racing right now, so he's only about 15, 16 when I was over there. He's 2021 racing, so it's pretty cool to see. I would like to go back. I just haven't had the right deal or the right opportunity. But it was a great time. Australia is a beautiful place, and it's just it's nice for a week to maybe go hunting and stuff like that for our off season. But I really enjoy racing, so I never want our season to be over, and it's how we make a living. So I'd like to get back at the track, or maybe get an opportunity to go back to Australia if it's right. But I don't have anything lined up this year.
Well, and of course, the Outlaws used to go down under, and now it seems like High Limit is, and the only thing over there outside of High Limit's kind of some stuff Wade Onger's putting together there in the Classic and all that. The East Coast, I guess Toowoomba's trying to come. Sydney's got their debacle. Archerfield is no longer there. But it seems like at that time or this time of the year, it's either you go to Australia to race or you do Chili Bow.
Or you do both, like I heard Buddy's doing. He's going back and forth, and I think Carson's done that. It's pretty wild because I know when I flew over there, the time difference and all that. I don't sleep good on a plane. I can't sleep like sitting up like that. So I know when I flew over there, you're basically up for 24, 36 hours. From when you leave, 16-hour flight, and if you're up that morning or whatever. I basically put my seat in the car and went and raced, and I never felt, I felt like I was basically drunk racing a race car, which is a super weird feeling. Just your focus and everything felt off from not sleeping. But so I don't see how those guys are going to go back and forth and do Chili Bowl, but that's pretty impressive, I think.
Well, I did the international flight is very very tough. I felt like when I did it, I went over there 2 years ago. On the way back, I split it up. I purposely went to Hawaii for 3 days just to kill that overall flight in the air for that duration of a time. It was just, for me, it was very inconvenient. You never know with guys like Kofoy and Larson and all these guys. They may be able to afford I think there's like a level on the third level where you can like get a little miniature cubicle, and it has like a bed and everything. It's like $6,000, but that's probably the way to do it. Maybe that's the way they're doing it. That lifestyle.
Yeah, so you can lay down and sleep, and that'd be the way to go. I didn't have that when I went over there, but that maybe changed things a little bit.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, I would assume that it's not cheap to do that either, though. Like, it was like $6,000 one way to take that option. It's definitely pricey. Although, I mean, I guess the round trip's still somewhat expensive in the time that it takes and everything like that. But it seems like Australia racing, I mean, obviously one of the bigger differences is the governing body aspect. Did you take notice to that when you were over there at all? Did you see any benefits to that? I know they have, like, for instance, I know Speedway Australia has like a track grade system. Like, and if your track doesn't grade a certain degree of safety, you're not even allowed to race a sprint car event. So it's like 4 or 5 grades, and you got to be a certain level. They have some things they've done to the chassis to tweak safety a little bit. What do you think of that aspect? How the Australians, they have this government body with the insurance as well, all these different things. Did you ever notice that? Care about that? Think of that?
Yeah, I did. I think they go overboard with it, and I was not a fan of it when I was there. I don't agree with some of it. I like freedom. That's why I live in the United States. I think the best country in the world for that reason. But there's things with safety. What they do with their roll cages, make them taller and all that. Like, my car wouldn't be legal over there. They make you wear arm restraints, which has actually, has the opposite effect. I've had them early in my career get stuck on the steering wheel, which is a safety issue, and so I never wore them for that reason. I've always thought it was funny that you had to do a breathalyzer test before the races. Like, I never thought that would be an issue, but I guess it was at some point. So I thought that was pretty entertaining. If they wanted to do that here, it'd be pretty wild if they caught somebody like doing shots before the races or something.
Well, as a spectator over there,
sort of entertaining.
Well, as a spectator over there, if you had like a pit pass on your arm and you went to go buy a beer, they cut the pit pass off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That ain't a bad idea. That's probably a good idea.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, in our pit area, just walk out in front of cars. Yeah.
It's give and take
That's
a little bit.
That's probably a good idea.
It's give and take a little bit. I feel like it does. I feel like sometimes in our sport, it almost comes across as like some people that are bored and they just want to get drunk and do something. And I don't really get that feel over there. I do feel like the fan base takes it a little more serious in Australia. Even though there is a drinking culture, it's not as prevalent as it is over here, I feel like.
I didn't take a whole lot of notice to that when I was over there. Like I said, it's been a couple of years too, but
right.
I definitely felt like it was more catered towards entertainment. As far as I got the same feel as, like, say if I went to like a monster truck event or something like that, instead of it being a race, which obviously it is a race, but it felt more like an event than
prestige.
It does here to me. It felt more like I was at a monster truck show, something like that, than what it feels like here.
Well, what do you think? As far as, do you think the Outlaws does a good job of providing that? What I'm curious. What do you mean by that? What would you see as like that's more so in the presentation department, right?
Yeah, no, I think the Outlaws do a great job. I think it's been talked about here a lot at the end of the year. I think maybe they should break some of their, not all their traditions, but some of them. To kind of cater to a younger crowd. I do think High Limit does a good job at that, with the music and the entertainment and how, but there's a lot that goes into, traditions that makes the Outlaws what it is, so I don't think you want to break that either. But, no, as far as Australia goes, I don't know exactly how to describe it, but it just, instead of, the focus being more on racing here in the United States and the winner of the event and paying attention to the overall championship and that kind of thing. In Australia, it just felt like it was more of like a monster truck event, or just something that was there to go do, and like you're going to the fair or something, not necessarily a race. That's how it felt to me. But they also, the Australian fans, they treated, I'd say myself, and I think the other American drivers would say the same thing, like I felt like an IndyCar driver or something when I was over there, as far as how the fans treated us, like we were this big star and all that. So I thought that was pretty neat. I just thought the fans were really cool.
Well, and that's one of the important things that I've always kind of said about Australia racing versus American racing is sprint car racing over there doesn't live in a NASCAR, IndyCar shadow. I mean, it is the top level of oval racing in the country. Of course, they got their V8 supercars, but that's road course racing to oval. It's two different fan bases. So if you're an oval fan, the sprint car racing in Australia is the top of it's the NASCAR version of it.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know how we could get to that level. I mean, promotion and marketing of the sport. I know a lot of people are always talking about, sprint car racing could never be NASCAR and stuff like that. And I don't think it should be. I mean, there's so many levels from where sprint car racing is right now to NASCAR. I mean, you think of, Supercross and, you mentioned Monster Jam or Rallycross or any of these other forms of sports that aren't as big as NASCAR. I definitely think that sprint car racing could up the level of where they're at currently to some of these other, forms of racing that are just as prevalent, but maybe not as prevalent as a NASCAR. Like, I don't see why we couldn't be just as popular as a Supercross, for instance.
I mean, the numbers, if they're accurate from what we've been told the last few years and the streaming services, and I mean, it continues to grow. I mean, it feels like it does. I mean, even since I've started, I've been out here. This is my 12th year. Since I've been out here, it's changed tremendously, and the viewership and how you view it, and how much Dirt Vision's grown and getting better, and the changes that they're making now to make the experience better. And from what I hear, I'm in the race car, but from what I hear, they do a great job. So, and their product is very good. So that's what you want to hear, is somebody who supports their series. But the numbers, as far as, and I said about catering to more of a younger crowd, but the numbers show that the younger crowd is getting into it. We're making new fans, and the ones that have been around forever are sticking around too. So, I mean, that's important. That's what you want to see, and it does. All the money that's been coming in the past how many years. I mean, a lot of that has to do with some competition and the stuff that High Limit's doing. But you wouldn't be able to bring that money in without the fans and the viewership, and so it shows that it's growing, and that's important.
Oh, definitely. And do you think that this split's helped that? Do you think that the split has drawn attention to this situation of sprint car racing? I feel like it has, slightly at least. I feel like more people are paying attention mainly to the match races. I think people pay attention to a normal World of Outlaw race more than a normal high limit race. But when it comes to these bigger events where you got both sides, the two teams clashing in a way, it does definitely seem like those events and then the sport overall has went up due to this kind of split of the two sides.
I think it has. I think it's positive, and I've kind of said since the beginning that that I think who's going to hurt from it is the local racetracks, the local racers, the local events, and I think you see Pennsylvania just announced today their points fund for racing a certain series in Pennsylvania, which I think that's important. That's what they need to do to work together and stream some of those races, that they can bring some of that revenue back to those racetracks, because that's what we need to. The racers are getting paid more. These owners are complaining about not bringing in enough money. They're getting more money back in their pockets now, but we got to make sure we take care of the racetracks too. And I don't know that side of it too well, but we have. I just think that's something that's important. But as far as High Limit and the Outlaws, I think it's good. I think them competing with each other is raising purses. And you see how many 50,000 or over 100,000 to win shows that we have now. And I agree with you. I think when we clash and we're all at the same spot, all at the same race, I think those numbers have got to be high, and people are interested and look at it as far as like a football perspective with the AFC versus NFC, and then who comes out on top. That if we could get to where we'd have a certain amount of races that went, you see, I think what was it mentioned yesterday about who does better as far as I think it's no brainer that the Outlaw guys are better overall if they all race together all the time. But there's still some very, very good cars, obviously, like Rico and Brad and Reitzel and those guys. They've been many Outlaw races. But as far as like a consistent basis, I think, like the 2 car on the 83 are just on another level right now.
Well, and you've been chasing the 2 and the 41. The 83 has been good with McFadden, and even Reitzel was in the 83 doing decent in his rookie year until he had his issues. But you've been right there in that hunt with those guys. They are pretty good. It's a lot of people like to say the mid pack is decent, more decent than the Outlaws. I don't know if you can really say that when you compare the mid packs to the mid packs, and there's a lot of guys who are good on certain tracks in that mid pack, but are horrible on others. Um, and the consistency to win the Outlaw Championship is just, I mean, unmatched. I think you saw Rico struggle for a month or so this year, and I don't think you can do that in the Outlaw Tour. Struggling needs to be like sixth. That's a struggling night, not 20th or something like that. If you have
I
one of
agree.
those nights, you're out of the championship contention. Um, and then for instance, like I don't even think, I think probably the driver who was the most dominant on high limit this year was Reitzel, although he was sidelined twice. Um, and obviously they had some decent sub drivers that kept the owners championship interesting in high limit. But I thought Reitzel was the most consistent driver, and I kind of put that on his outlaw string. I mean, his ability that he's shown with the All Stars in previous years. I think Reitzel's potentially, in my opinion, the strongest driver car that high limit has. Then, of course, like you said, you got Rico, you got Brent Marks. I think Tanner Thorson's coming along to maybe be one of those guys too. But when you get to the Outlaws, it seems like you have these, a solid 5 to 6 teams that are just structured to points race. Like, maybe Rico or even Reitzel aren't even ready for, I think.
Yeah, I think for us, we did good points racing this year. Obviously, with 2 wins, it's not where my goals were set at the beginning of the year. But as far as top 5s and top 10s, we actually got fairly close to the 41 car. We had 10 wins. Going into Charlotte, we had a possibility of getting on the podium if Charlotte went a certain way. So, yeah, there's definitely a difference as far as points racing goes and being consistent. But you basically hit the nail on the head with, the 2 and the 83. Their bad night is a 6th place finish. You don't see them unless they have a DNF, which rarely happens, other than like gravel at Charlotte there. But say he had nothing to lose there, so he's racing a little differently. But you just don't see them have DNFs, or if they're just not good or miss a setup a little bit and be like a 12th place car. Like that never happens, and I think you see that with some of those other guys. So I just see them being on another level right now, and we're chasing them. We're trying to figure out what that is. Yourself talking about somebody like Reitzel. We run triple X's, so it makes me think of what are those guys doing, because they are definitely very fast, and he qualified really well this year, which was a weakness of ours at times. I felt like we improved on it a little bit from last year, but definitely need to get better, and that's something that the 2 car does so well, and maybe that the 83 is behind him a little bit. The 83 might race a little better than the 2 car the second half of the year, but you could say David was points racing, but David just does such a good job. He's always been a very good qualifier, but then I just think that Cody and his team, they got that car rolling the racetrack good. It just seems like even when David makes mistakes, he's still faster than everybody else. So that makes that tough to compete with.
Well, qualifying does seem that's the one problem, or maybe it's not a problem with the Outlaws. It seems like qualifying's everything. You mentioned Triple X chassis, you mentioned Reitzel. You also mentioned, gravel and Kofoid, and we could even bring in a Rico into that discussion. It does seem like motors are huge. I mean, we mentioned a few different chassis, but motors having some kind of package, almost having an exclusive deal, seems to be a very big aspect to qualifying well. Obviously, you got to have the car right, but I feel like that engine program is huge. I mean, you think Kofoid, I mean, he's a TRD guy. They got the Toyota motors, years of development. James McFadden helped develop that motor. He's an engineer by trade in the engine department. Morris in there with the gravel team, obviously a really good relationship. Rico, I guess, is a silent owner now of Speedway. It seems like that motor department is where everything is at in these modern formats that lean on qualifying as the key.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge part of it. Like you said, your car has to roll the racetrack nice. You know, you don't want to get loose as fast. Keep yourself kind of loose, but not too bad. The driver's got to hit their marks. But we have a great engine builder with Michael Newman, and works very well with Troy Godfrey and many of our other partners. But it's a learning experience. You know, we have some engines that we really like at certain racetracks or certain times of the year, and we're always trying to find that edge. So we're experimenting a little bit. And that was something that my grandfather did a lot and wanted to do, but just try and learn and get better. So, but we have some engines that we really like that have qualified at certain racetracks and certain time of the year that we've really liked. And but yeah, it's you're always trying new things.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I could sit here and say Morrison and stuff with gravel, but that was one of the more impressive things when I went up there to that Houston shop that they have. I mean, there's basically a Cody Jacob speed shop in there. He's got a full machining complex of things that he can, even though it may be a Maxim or it may be this or it may be that shock or this or that. I mean, he can go in there and basically make all kinds of adjustments to every single part on the race car. He has every machine needed to do so. Is that where, even though they say in today's world you could just buy speed, buy the engine, just buy the shocks, buy the chassis, is when you get to this upper echelon of high limit World of Outlaw racing and you're up there battling for a championship, is there a lot of shop work and alterations and things that are happening behind the scenes to certain parts and elements of the car that are really separating one guy from the other? Because that was the most impressive thing about that shop. I mean, and Cody knows how to work all the different items and machinery. And it seems like you could do a lot in the shop still at the upper levels of sprint car racing today.
Yeah, I think they definitely got something going on. He's got something up his sleeve because like I said, they're definitely quick. They're quick at slick racetracks. The only maybe small weakness that they might have a little bit is when the track's really rough. But where were we at somewhere at the end of the year that they still ran good when it was rough? So yeah, it's they're pretty tough. You know exactly what they're doing. Obviously, I don't know, or I'd be doing it too. So. But like I said, that's why I think we're consistent, but I also think we're about a third or fourth place car right now in most races. I feel like I run a perfect race and we're finishing third or fourth, and this makes that part tough. But yeah, that's why we continue to try and learn and get better and do some of the stuff that maybe those guys are doing. And is our checkbook near as big as theirs? No, but that's never been an excuse of ours, so it never will be.
Well, no, I don't think it should be. And I guess, that's where crew chiefs are an element. I feel like crew chiefs are huge in this sport. Your year's been a little different with crew chiefs. I believe you started the year with Kyle Pruitt, correct?
Yes, sir.
And how did that go? It looked like it started the year off pretty consistent there.
Yeah, I think Kyle helped us to get some of those qualifying flows or get us loosened up to help us qualify a little bit better, and it showed at the beginning of the year. And we, I felt like we were talking well. Kyle's a great guy. He's a really nice guy. He's been a driver, and I feel like so he understands. When a driver explains something to him, he's felt it before, so he can relate that way. His experience of being a crew chief is kind of limited when we were able to bring him around, and it was we were hoping it was something that we could build on in years to come and kind of chase wins and hopefully championships and crown jewel races, and he kind of decided to go a different direction. So we're kind of looking for the next guy that might want to help us continue to build. And my grandpa's no longer around, but he's built this thing so that when he wasn't around, that we can continue his legacy and continue what he's built. And I have strong goals, big goals in the sport that I continue to want to go after, and so I want to bring the next person in that is willing to help continue to build this. So we actually hired Carly Holmes in Charlotte, and she's been at the shop kicking ass and working really hard with Bill to kind of manage things and organize things so that we're prepared for next year. And I feel like we're in a really good spot. So we're still continuing to look for that crew chief type figure or somebody else to come on board. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I can't wait to get back for racing. So.
Yeah, I guess that was kind of one of the more weird things of the year was when you and Pruitt separated, and then you had the whole deal where Sheldon wins, and then he's now the guy at the 17 car. Did you know anything about the 17 situation when y'all separated, or was it just mutual parting?
Yeah, we knew. So that's sort of what happened, or kind of was the decision on our part that it didn't make sense to, if that's the direction that he wanted to go, that, maybe he should start going that direction. So, and, it's a business, so we gotta figure out where we were gonna go or how we were gonna start rebuilding to find somebody that wants to work with us and wants to be part of our team and, likes the environment that they work in and wants to build it and hopefully win races and championships.
Right. How hard is it to find a crew chief? I feel like, years past, and even the guys we know now, they either started off as a tire guy and then a car chief, and then they got an opportunity to be a crew chief and it just clicked. Is that kind of when you're looking for crew chiefs that they're not established? You're kind of looking at a guy who was working underneath somebody who was really established already?
Yeah, it's very tough. That's kind of the predicament that we're in right now is finding that right person. And I think a lot of teams deal with that. There's guys that want to be crew chiefs, but you're only going to find so many Ricky Warners, and or maybe you're not going to find any at all. There might only be one of them guys. Carl Kinzers and the guy that we all want to come work on our car, or those guys strive to be like. But it's tough to find them. I mean, that's why we're looking. That's why I've kind of always done my own thing a little bit. And it might be some cons to that as far as am I going to trust the person to make the right calls if I don't really feel like they know what they're doing. I'm sure, but that's that's how I was taught. I feel like part of why I am where I am is because I've made those calls and it's helped me to be where I'm at. So it's gonna have to be the right person to come in that I can, you got to get along well, you got to work well together. Thinking alike is understanding what a driver's communicate and what they're feeling, and crew chiefs got to kind of understand that. And, the best guys, they build that relationship that driver comes in and he explains something that it just clicks as far as the crew chief can understand what they're seeing, what the driver's saying to really tune that race car to fit the driver and fit the racetrack.
Is it I would also assume that you may be able to find some of these guys, but that outlaw lifestyle is not necessarily the best. I mean, it's a great idea. I mean, being an outlaw it sounds fun, but unless you really want to sacrifice your life to do it, it's definitely the schedule, where you have to go, how you have to do it, the time it takes. It's a tough schedule for anyone to want to endure. I feel bad for the tire guys. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's definitely a different lifestyle, and you got to really. We tell anybody that's thinking about coming to help us, and we used to always have the new people, and we were a stepping stone to go to a bigger team, and it's not really that way now, and I'm trying not to be that way. I think we're really close as far as the pay goes, and guys are our people, or the way they're compensated for their work, but it's still, you're away from home for a long period of time at times. So you gotta really love sprint car racing and love what you're doing to be out here and just be away from home.
Well, and most of the time you need a CDL and all this other stuff to go along with it. That seems to be like a requirement. But
yeah, it definitely helps. So you need at least at least one of them, and it helps to really have two people with their CDL to be able to drive the truck up and down the road. So that's a steep requirement. We've helped numerous members of our teams that have helped us to get their CDL, and that happens down the board with a lot of teams. But so we've done that with our guys, and I'm sure other teams do too.
Well, and it's cool you got Carly Holmes on the team. Of course, women involvement in the sport's a huge deal. Obviously, I think that there is somewhat of a shortage most of the time for people to go on the Outlaw Tour. I've been a proponent behind the scenes to some of these, 305 guys or, guys in 360s or 410s at the back of the pack, mortgaging the house to race at a local level. I've been telling them, if you really want to make it in racing, I think going on the Outlaw Tour, if you really love sprint car racing like they do, working on the cars, they know the cars, they're working on their own. I think a good option for some 305 guys, 360s, even low budget 410 guys is to go be on a crew. I think that would open up your portfolio to meeting a lot of people, getting in the industry, learning a lot of different things. I mean, obviously, Bobby Davis Jr. is probably the most profound name to think of somebody like that. But I've always been suggesting to these regular racers, I mean, save your money and go get the career that you can at least maybe expand. Even if you want to race, the opportunity could be there down the line.
Yeah, that's what Jason Johnson did to get to his level. He helped Steve Kinzer for a while. Ace Pruitt was just helping me, Kyle's son. Great kid, worked really hard, and he's trying to be a racer and seeing how he could do it. And that's what he's trying to do. So, a lot of try and learn what you can. And a lot of these guys will come out and try and learn for a little bit to see how the top teams do things. And I think some of them realize we don't really do things that much different. Really, it's everything's done at a high level, but that's they try to come out and learn that stuff and see how we do things.
It seems like you're coming to a stop. Do we need to let you go?
No, I just got to fill up, and that's it. So would it cut off if I get out of the truck?
I don't know. I've never experienced this one. This down the road trip. We're traveling with the Shark. We'll try it. I mean, I could check comments while you're busy.
Well, I'm gonna get out and I'm gonna put.
You're good. You're good.
No, I can talk to you.
Oh wow, that's actually better than it was before. What
okay,
happened?
Cool.
Okay. Were you on a headset now?
I took you off Bluetooth.
Oh well. Yeah, it's a little clear. But...
No, I just took you off the truck.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that works too. So this next year, obviously, you had your situation with Bobby Allen and all that. Everybody's already touched all over that. Everybody knows it was a horrible loss. But probably, I guess, one of the interesting things coming back that was kind of a shocker for some is that Jacob is going to be bringing the team onto the tour. So the band's back together, however you want to say it. Was that a decision or thing you talked with him, or was that just a decision he made on his own and trying to continue this legacy with the Shark Racing team on the Outlaw Tour?
Yeah, I actually haven't got the chance to really talk to Jake about it. I haven't even been home since the season's been over. I talked to Ashton and his dad a little bit, actually more than I did Jacob. So, but I'm happy to hear that. It's one of the things that, kind of a bummer about the last couple of years is that those guys weren't around as much. So, to have them back out on the road and, kind of basically a 2-car operation, even though, there were different shops now and all that, but,
Jacob and I have always been close, so to have them at the racetrack's definitely going to be pretty cool. That's not something that kind of surprised me just as much as it did everybody else, but I knew that was the level that they wanted to get back to. My grandpa talked about all this year that he wanted to get the 1A back on a tour. He just wasn't deciding on which one. And then, Jacob decided he wanted to go with the Outlaws. So, yeah, we're definitely excited for that.
Definitely. Are you surprised by the Outlaw choice? It does seem like all this money that High Limit is offering up here very soon as well seems to be very alluring business wise. You would think for like a smaller team, it's the way to go, if that makes any sense. If you're all about or somewhat about trying to make money as a dedicated national sprint car operation, it does seem like High Limit is offering a little bit more. I know the Outlaws talked about, or Brian Carter talked about on their show, on how they're going to increase that for y'all this next year. But it's going to be tough to keep up with what High Limit is offering. Is it more so just the long-term belief in the Outlaws?
There's a lot of decisions that are made. I can't speak for Jacob totally. For us, it's some of our partners would like us to be on the Outlaw Tour. For me, it's, the prestige of the Outlaws. It's not always totally about money, even though it does seem like, with the High Limits, charter system or point system, it's basically all it is, it's getting above the Outlaws, but the Outlaws are adding to it. And, I'm sure things will keep changing, but the money's there, the prestige of what it means to be an Outlaw champion or an Outlaw winner. That's what I look at. And the schedule comes into play as far as for us, even though, Williams Grove is not one of my favorite racetracks, but we come back there 3 times. We are home racing. So that is nice to be able to go home instead of, the other series wants to go out to California and have more trips out there. Obviously, Brad and Kyle are from California, so they're going to go out there a little more. But, for Jacob and I, it's, like I said, AFC, NFC, we'd rather be on the East Coast a little more.
Right. Well, and the one thing, I think the biggest difference between the two systems is I do feel like the one thing you get with High Limit, if you obtain one of those charters or franchisees, is you do get equity in a way. For instance, you've been on the Outlaw Tour for several years. You've been finishing top 5 in points. You've been getting the money that comes with that. But if you wanted to quit next year, you're just out. Whereas the high limit series with this franchise system, you would basically be able to sell a spot, and there's value in that position, similar to like the Jason Meyer situation just had. Now, what's that value? What is that? What is this worth? Obviously, they're putting a number on what those positions are worth, but I do think that that's a huge benefit to that system, is that the investment that the teams are making they're getting some kind of equity in return.
Sure. I don't disagree with you. Yeah, it's something that we all think about. It's something that was brought to, other drivers talked about it at the owners meeting this year, and it was brought to Brian Carter's attention. So, yeah, it's definitely something that we all think about.
It's well, I mean, is the I know you can't tell everything, but is the expectation by the Outlaws and the owners and everybody somewhat to keep up with that or evolve, or is this a part of that, once again, outlaw tradition that this is how it's happened, this is how it works type thing? It's just we think this is more trustworthy in a scenario like that.
No, I think the racers expect them to evolve. I think that's why it's brought to their attention that, we don't want to feel like we're getting left behind, that these guys that, jump ship and went to this other series are going to make out better than the people that are loyal to the Outlaws and stuck with them, and that the series that's been around for so long that, has this prestige that we all talk about. We want them to succeed. So it's, how can we all work together that we keep this brand on top and also take care of the racers. So it's definitely well to attention. I'm not sure how that goes. That's why I think they're, adding points money and, bigger races and, Dirt Vision's trying to do their thing. So, you're putting cameras on cars or whatever, but, yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, he did mention some stuff, how y'all get royalties off of like iRacing, and then I guess this trading card thing's big now. What's up with the trading card situation?
I don't know a whole lot. I don't pay attention to that stuff a whole lot, but, yeah, they're pretty neat. I know fans get into them, so that's cool to see. I saw my one card floating around not long ago, so, but they're pretty neat. We have gotten royalties from them, kind of like with the video game the other year. So yeah.
Different levels of increments, I guess, as far as involvement and getting paid outside of just the traditional points championship and tow monies and all that. But yeah, the schedule and everything like that, that's different. Obviously, Volusia kicking off next year. Do you have a problem that they kick off at Volusia and then don't do nothing for a month and come right back?
Well, I'd like to be racing. I don't know exactly how they fix it, or it's been talked about running other tracks down there. We tried East Bay, but that, we know what happened there, and so, yeah, I wish we didn't have to sit around, but it just, it it doesn't make sense, or it doesn't make sense for the Outlaws, and it works perfect with the break in between the Super Bowl, the playoffs, and the Super Bowl, so you understand how they get their crowd and viewership, and then it just does. They don't have anywhere to go for the next couple of weeks, so I understand it, even though I wish I was racing.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to test new markets. I mean, we saw how the High Limit Series did at Golden Isle. Even when they paired them with the late models, it didn't work out. So, and that's not very far from Volusia to begin with. It makes you think on where you could go. It kind of sucks you can't do some Arizona or something at that time of the year. You would think that would be perfect, but it's just distance and separation,
Yeah, it's just if we wanted to go back out to the West Coast at the beginning of the year instead of the end of the year, and I wouldn't be against that. I don't think it makes sense that we go out right after High Limit at the end of the year. I think that hurts us. So I wouldn't be against going out there at the beginning of the year, but you just take the chance of weather. But I don't know. I guess that's just a chance you take. But we did go out. We've gone out in the West Coast and not had weather issues, and we've gone out there. So
Yeah.
It is what the right decision.
Back in the truck, I believe. Yes. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good. I just had to bump the audio back up. It's
that
a little
all right?
different. Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. Obviously, the establishment in Texas, other things like that help fill up March and stuff like that. Is there anything next year that you know of on the schedule that hasn't been published that you're looking forward to?
I'd have to look at it again. I think there's a lot of good racetracks on there. I like that about the Outlaws. I think they do have the better schedule as far as racetracks. So I think, props to them for getting us to nice facilities. And, I like to see that as going back to, top-notch facilities. I mean, the racing has to be good, but you want to see it at nice racetracks. So, nothing totally out of the ordinary. I think it makes sense the way we're doing our Canada trip this year, so I'm excited for that. Kind of going up through Canada, coming down and hitting Eldora, just makes more sense. So, looking forward to it. I think they're doing a good job.
Well, and then obviously, I do think it's a little unfair that High Limit says they have all these off weekends, but they're literally off weekends for the big outlaw events. I feel like if they had those outlaw events as High Limit events, they wouldn't be off. It wouldn't be so free,
No, we know how that works. It was a midweek series until it wasn't. So yeah, it's cherry picking a little bit, but that's okay. You gotta call a spade a spade.
Okay. Well, I feel like we pretty much covered everything except for your merch. Is there any new merch in the off season coming? Are you changing the paint scheme up for next year? I know Bill kind of handles all that, but it does seem like you're one of the cars on the tour that does at least have a few different paint schemes throughout the year. Outside, it seems like everybody else is the same except for maybe Knoxville. But it does seem like y'all switch out a lot. Is there anything new, or is it separate or different variations coming next year?
Well, we're fortunate to be able to do that because we have awesome partners with Relodyne, which is Striding, and Duramax, and then Federated Auto Parts has been a big partner of ours. So we have a Federated Auto Parts car throughout the year, and Take 5 is in partners with Relodyne, so we are able to show off our Take 5 car throughout the year a few times. So yeah, we'll have a couple different paint schemes again next year. We're still working on it a little bit. We will have a car at PRI, so our next year's primary paint scheme will be at PRI, and I forget exactly which booth. I should know that, but it will be there, so be able to show that off. And then yeah, you can get our merchandise on Shop Schuchart. We always all our social media outlets, we always are coming up with new stuff. Summer and my mom are always working hard to make that happen. So you need some stuff before Christmas time, they can help you out.
All right, maybe just a half fan question before we get you out of here. I call it half fan question because it's half competitor as well. Do you think that Donny Schatz still has something left? I know this is out of nowhere. You don't have to answer. Do you think Donny Schatz, and I think it's possible, in the right situation, can still be a contender to win races and championships on the World of Outlaw level? Just curious. You don't have to answer.
Well, I think that's an easy answer. Donny didn't forget how to drive, and you don't really forget how to drive. He's still the guy that won 10 Outlaw championships, 10 Knoxville Nationals, and I think you see it. I think the tires and the cars. I think we're doing some things that we did a couple years ago where we won 8-9 races, and I feel way better now than I was then. We're winning 2 races a year, and like I said, the cars in front of us are just doing something a little bit better. So, and I think that's what you're seeing with Donny. I think that led to some frustrations with this team, and it eventually blew up. But he didn't forget how to drive, and I don't think the tires necessarily are a friend of Donny's. I don't necessarily think they're the best for myself. I think I'm not the most aggressive guy out there. I can be when I need to be. But I think I drive with a little more finesse, and I think these tires kind of cater to the guys that are super aggressive, and because you have to race them that way, and if you spin them, it doesn't really matter lots of times. It doesn't necessarily slow you down that much, or you just don't have to drive them with a whole lot of finesse, and I think that definitely hurts Donny. Donny forgot how to drive at all.
Okay. Do you think it's still there? It's just a combination of the tire, obviously, that operation, how that all split. Was that weird for you to see, or did pretty much everybody see it coming?
I think like a lot of the racing world, they probably saw it coming because you could tell by results and what you hear around the pit area that there are some frustrations and that people aren't getting along. And when that's happening with a group that's together all the time, that's why I said you got to have the right combination. So it doesn't matter if you're, PSR or whoever. If guys aren't getting along and there's frustrations and tensions are high, eventually it's going to blow up. And I think that's exactly what happened.
Wasn't it a little bit of a surprise to not see the year end? Although that seems to be like, is Knoxville the unofficial beginning of the new year? It seems like I don't get that part. I think the one thing that's sour in the mouth is why not wait to the end of the year?
Yeah, I don't know that one. You have to ask Tony Stewart that one. But it does, Knoxville does feel, for whatever reason, after Knoxville, it just feels like, June, July, August, our season is super busy. We're racing and traveling a lot. It feels like you're racing every other day. And then once you get to Knoxville, or after Knoxville, you're not traveling as much, and you're only racing Fridays and Saturdays. So it basically feels like the season's almost over.
Yeah. It's definitely a weird element. We're starting to see more moves. I believe that's when the Spencer Baston, 14 car departed. Obviously, you got Baston back on the tour. There's going to be a few faces new. I think Garrett Williamson has some strength coming with him as well. Donny more than likely will be on there with a situation. That'll be interesting to figure out what that is. And PRI, you say you're going to be there. What is PRI now? I feel like that's where we'll hear something about Donny's situation. I feel like that's potentially when we'll get a full outlaw schedule. It does seem in the new social media age that people are controlling their own breaking news more so than waiting for PRI. Traditionally, I feel like that's where everything would get released. What is PRI now, in your opinion? What is it? What does it kind of represent? Obviously, it's a trade show. But it used to be that thing where all schedules come out, all news comes out, and the next year kind of gets set.
Yeah, it seems like the place to do it. Everybody's trying to get a jump start on things. Like you said, it either happens after Knoxville or Charlotte. Some announcements are made, World Finals, and then the next step is PRI. So, like I said, we're debuting our 2026 car there. And teams are making announcements. Schedules are usually coming out, and there was some missing on our schedule, so I'm sure we'll hear about them and a little more info on our point fund, with Brian Carter and all that. So I'm sure all that stuff will come out. But for us, it's a place, it's a spot we can go to thank all our partners that, I'm always announcing the Drydeens, the Duramax, Federated Auto Parts, C&D Rigging, Mark Martin Motors. But, for the people that actually make the car go fast and put the thing together with all their components, thank them and shed some light on them also.
Okay. Well, I'll be there. It'll be interesting to see. I haven't been there in about 3 years. Australia and some other things. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that the whole thing goes. Of course, they got a lot of things happening around it. With conventions and people talking and things along those lines, but then also seeing all the different innovations and things coming out. Obviously, sprint cars ain't innovated too much, so it'll more so be on the asphalt side or this or that. But everyone who's everyone is traditionally there, and that's kind of the fun thing about it is you got everybody in the same room and. For 3 days straight, it almost seems like those Saturday, even though it's the last day, is kind of like the wind down day. I feel like if I was to suggest somebody who's watching, if you're going to go to PRI, go Friday or something, because I feel like Saturday is kind of the tune down day.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell you. I don't know if I've ever been there on Saturday, but I've heard that. I always go Wednesday and then what would it be, Thursday? Yeah, Thursday and then half of Friday, and then I usually head out. So, but I have also heard that.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. It's an early deal. Get in there early, see everybody, and then head on out. I guess speaking of heading out, we've had you on here for just a little over an hour. We even got a fuel stop. Is there anything else you'd like to say or let fans know or anything like that before we let you go here?
No, I think we covered some of our partners. Even sent you over to Shop Schuchart. So, like I said, we need to get some Christmas presents and all that. But yeah, I'm missing her. I'll be on your show.
Well, thanks for coming on. We battled the truck Bluetooth, and now we get to all battle high limit next year. That's the goal, right? That's the goal.
That's the goal. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Anyways, well, thanks for tuning in and or calling in, and maybe we'll have to do this again. Maybe I'll see you at PRI. We'll be able to debut the new car, make something out of that.
Okay. Thanks, Chaz. Sounds good, man. Take care.
You as well. Bye. Oh, there it was, Logan Schuchart on the show. Little bit. I even felt it myself, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go to the chat. We'll go to the chat for an instance. We'll see what you are saying. I know. The phone was a little bit delayed there with Logan, although he's traveling up and down the road. He's always going. He wasn't running, but he was running down the road. Anyways, let's see. Glad to see the Chaz is back. Yes, we are back. We're trying. We're trying to be back here, ladies and gentlemen. We did get a super chat from Hammered Down. Well, thank you very much. There means a lot to get the super chats here in on the show. We're back in full gear. I'm feeling like this is the make or break year coming up. We got to really, I'm going to go to PRI and try to get some new partners. Of course, we had our partners for 2025 all over the screen here. Of course, yes, the Muppets were a part of that. But yeah, super chats, subscriptions to the channel, all that stuff, subbing, memberships to the channel. I want to thank everybody who has done that. We've had their name on the bottom of the screen. So we're looking forward to PRI and the next year and making a lot of new content partnerships. We got a lot of talk shows coming in this week. Like I said, we just had Logan on the show. And then tomorrow we will have Caleb Montgomery on the show live. We're still trying to figure out what's the best time frame for that because it is Thanksgiving Day. A lot of people are going to be busy, football as well. And then Friday, we may have a double show, but confirmed as of right now, Cody Summer with Gateway Dirt Nationals, the guy who created it all. He is going to be on the show Friday. Of course, Gateway is going to be next weekend, and then the following weekend of that is PRI. We're still discussing with some other people. Boom Briggs might be the other Friday show, so we may be having two separate shows on Friday. Like I said, we're talking to Rico. We're talking to Donnie. Donnie, he doesn't want to talk about next year's plans, I don't think. But hey, everybody still wants to hear the inside of Don. Do they not? Do they not? They definitely do. And there's some things to talk about, obviously. Let's see some of the chats here. Definitely, I agree with Logan about a lot of what the Outlaws are good at and what they can improve on. A lot of new fans don't understand the dynamic. Good luck to the 1S and 1A this next year. And let me tell you something. We obviously don't know the full rookie class for next year on the World of Outlaw Tour. Some people are saying maybe Hank Davis with the 17 GP car. Going to pick a national tour, potentially the World of Outlaws. I do think that the World of Outlaws offers a little bit better of a program for a rookie team right now, even monetarily wise. I think they offer a better program and a little more prestige. I think World of Outlaw, that's the deal. High limit rookie of the year with this established charter system. What's that going to mean? What is World of Outlaw rookie of the year list? Pretty prestigious. Means something to be a World of Outlaw Rookie of the Year, but when you have established charter teams and all that, I mean, what's the benefit? So I think that could be interesting next year come with the 1A car, because I truly believe that the 1A, Ashton Torgerson, obviously the team has some on-the-road experience, but Torgerson's good, and he's, even though midgets aren't what they used to be, when you do go run the national midget tours, you do it with a lot of aggression, you do it with a lot of racing, you do it with a bunch of different race tracks. So I think that's prepped Ashton Torgerson well to go on the national scene. You could say the same thing for Kofoids. You could say the same thing for a lot of guys. And I think Ashton Torgerson right now with the 1A car is definitely a shoe-in. Right now, my favorite to begin this year was Garrett Williamson. Look what happened. And I know a lot of people thought Cole Macedo, just people were underestimating how good Garrett actually was. And I would say the same thing for Ashton Torgerson. I definitely think that Ashton Torgerson is the favorite to win the Rookie of the Year next year, barring some out of left or right field, like say a Justin Sanders is going to run the Outlaw Tour, or somebody seasoned veteran base has a very well filled out resume of established accomplishments. If somebody like that jumps on the Outlaw Tour for a rookie contention, then maybe we have a discussion. But right now, Ashton Torgerson in the 1A is a shoe above everyone else as far as Rookie of the Year next year that I could think of that could potentially join. I mean, even if Hank Davis and the 17 GP come on, I still see Ashton Torgerson at least 4 spots better per night than the 17 GP, at least. Maybe even 5 or 6, honestly. We don't know what Hank Davis's 410 abilities are, even though I do think he's very naturally talented. Regardless, I want to thank Logan Schuchart for coming on. We do plan on being live here tonight on the show. Do plan be live tonight with some call-ins, with some potential drinks in the hand, bringing in the Thanksgiving year, potentially drinks in the hand. I'm trying to be good now. I'm trying to be good. We get a few drinks in us, and the drunk man's rants is a sober man's thoughts. That's very true. I'm trying to be good. But tonight, we just wanted to soft open the reopening here with the Chaz, with Logan Schuchart, very conservative, bear-killing guy. But tonight, the Sean will be in the building. Oh, no, Sean's going to be back. Oh, we're going to be screaming Sean. Will we have drinklets in the hand? I don't know. I feel like that's bad. Is it bad? Oh, no. So, if you haven't subscribed, get subscribed. It's about to go down tonight. Maybe we could even have one of these people call in. Maybe. Oh, no. What did Donnie say? What did Rico say? Oh, no. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We will be live tonight. I want to thank Logan Schuchart for coming on. We'll see him at PRI if we can make it through tonight. Oh, my. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thanks. Oh, that's what I'm going to do. I'm trying not to drink now. Ha, ha, ha. Exactly. We gotta keep it. We got to have moderation. Don't drink before we come on the show. And Jacob, we'll just buy a 6-pack, and that's it, right? Limit ourselves at a 6-pack. We can't let Sean buy the 30-pack of Busch lattes. We can't be doing that. Buy a nice little 6-pack. That's it. You know, just 6. Because if you buy the 12, Jacob, you get 3 or 4 in, and now you're into 12, even though you were going to stop at 6. This is what I'm saying. We got to limit the aggressiveness. Anyways, gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe and to tune in tonight. I want to thank Logan once again. We will catch y'all later. Oh, my. Oh, my. We can ride high, we can ride low. We can ride anywhere we need to go. We can ride all night up to the morning, as long as we make the show.